on that day, Diet Dr. Pepper essentially saved my life. A few years ago, I went on a trip with my uncle and my little brother to go canyoneering. Now, canyoneering is something that we do a lot in Utah, specifically in the slot canyons of southern Utah, where water is carved out little canyons in the ground that can get pretty tight, and they also flood really easily, but they're some of the most beautiful places in the world. I always had a fear of heights growing up. I was really scared to be near any high edge, especially in these canyons. But this trip was specifically to go hiking and rappelling through these canyons, so I kind of needed to get over that fear of heights pretty quickly. On our first day, the canyons were pretty mild. All of the rappels were under 50 feet. It was really easy, and I felt pretty confident. But on the second day was when we started doing rappels that were over 100 feet, and I got pretty nervous and even got stuck on one of them, and I was dangling in the air for a little bit, but it all helped me to get over my fear of heights. The last canyon we did on this trip was really fun, a little bit more dangerous and a little bit further out into the desert than the other ones. And we had a really good time at this canyon, especially with the rappels just straight down cliffs that were over 100 feet tall. And I was feeling much more confident in my rappelling skills at this point. And when we reach the end of these canyons, we have to do an out hike, is what we call it, where since we've been going down and down for a couple thousand feet or so, we now have to climb back up that and get to one of our cars. Now, this particular hike was a pretty challenging out hike, but my uncle felt very confident in his navigating skills, and he felt like he could lead us out of there pretty quick, but that was not the case. Now, when we reached the end of this canyon, my uncle thought it would be a relatively quick hike to get out of there, and so he decided to dump out our water for the rest of the trip, leaving me with only about a quarter of my water bottle full, and we got lost in that desert. We started walking around and climbing different hills and mountains, but we could not find this trail that my uncle thought was there, and we were going into some pretty dangerous places. At some point, my little brother about fell off a mountain when loose dirt was kicked, and it was pretty frightening experience, and I was getting a little more dehydrated as time went on. But we finally found this trail after going down that mountain that my little brother had almost fallen off of. And once we did find it, it was a really beautiful hike out, just walking along the ridgeline and looking out over the desert. It was really rewarding view. And when we finally reached the car, I drank the only drink that we had left in the coolers, which was a Diet Dr. Pepper. I hated Diet Dr. Pepper before this experience, but nowadays it's one of my favorite drinks because it just reminds me of that trip, and on that day, Diet Dr. Pepper essentially saved my life. Moral of the story: pack extra water on your hikes.
Amen.